How long until a Christmas tree farm pays for itself? Let's plant one and find out. Seedlings cost about $1 each, and you can fit over 1,000 of them on a single acre. So call it a couple $1,000s of little trees pushed into the ground. A grown tree sells for $60 to $80 at a cut-your-own lot. 1,000 trees at $70 each is serious money off one small field. Sounds like a slow but fat return. It is not, and the reason is time. You cannot sell a single one of those trees for 8 to 10 years, and when they finally are ready, you can only sell them for about 4 weeks a year. By the end of this video, you will know what an acre of Christmas trees really costs to grow, why the tree in your living room is the least valuable part of the whole business, and why the trees on the lot this December were a bet somebody placed a decade ago. Start with the land, and the good news is it does not take much. An acre or two of well-drained rural ground is enough to begin, and Christmas trees will grow on hillsides and rough soil that would be useless for row crops. This is a rare farm you can start on land nobody else wants. Then the seedlings, and they are cheap. Small trees run 50 cents to $3 each, and you plant on the order of 1,000 to 1,500 per acre. A few $1,000s puts a whole field in the ground. One cost that surprises people is the gear. A tractor runs $15,000 to $30,000. You need shearing knives and a trimmer to shape the trees every year, a sprayer, and a baler that wraps each tree in netting for the drive home. If you go the cut-your-own route, you also build the whole visit. Parking, signage, a barn, insurance, and the staff to run a busy weekend. So the tiers are clear. The wholesale grower, who farms at volume and ships trees by the truckload to lots and big-box stores. The cut-your-own farm, who sells fewer trees at a far higher price and turns the field into a December destination. And the hybrid, who does both. Whatever tier you pick, the same hard fact sits under it. You will plant, and shear, and mow, and wait for the better part of a decade before you sell a thing. Plant your first field, and here is what actually comes with it. You inherit the wait, and it is the longest in this whole series of farms. A seedling needs 8 to 10 years to become a 6-foot tree somebody wants in their living room. Not 1 year, not 3. Nearly a decade of tending a crop that earns nothing while it grows. You are farming on a clock most businesses would never survive. You also inherit a plant that will not sell itself. A Christmas tree does not grow into that perfect cone on its own. Left alone, it grows wild and lopsided and worthless. Every single year, every tree has to be sheared and shaped by hand to build that shape buyers expect. Skip a couple of seasons, and the tree is firewood. And you inherit the discipline that makes the whole thing work. Smart growers plant in staggered blocks and replant every row the moment they cut it. Do that for a decade, and you reach a rolling harvest, a slice of the field ready every single year. The brutal 10-year wait turned into an annual paycheck. But only if you kept planting through every lean year along the way. A Christmas tree farm makes money in layers, and the raw tree sits at the very bottom. Here they are. Layer 1. Wholesale trees. Cut them, bale them, and sell them by the truckload to retail lots and stores. You might get $20 to $35 a tree, and it is a game of pure volume. The biggest grower in Oregon harvests more than 1 million trees in under 30 days. Layer 2, and it is where the margin lives. Cut your own. Families drive out, walk the rows, pick a tree, and cut it themselves. That same tree now sells for $60 to $80, and you keep almost all of it. The customer even does the harvesting for you. Layer 3. The day out. Hayrides, hot cocoa, photos with the trees, a visit with Santa. Hayrides alone run $8 to $12 a head. People are not driving out for a tree they could buy at a store. They are buying a morning that feels like Christmas. Layer 4. Everything made from greenery. Wreaths at $20 to $30 each. Garland, swags, and centerpieces. Much of it built from the trimmings you would otherwise throw away. It stretches a 4-week season and squeezes money out of the scraps. Stack it together, and the shape is clear. That tree is the reason people come. The visit, and everything they buy while they are there, is the actual business. Here is the fact that decides everything. The tree itself is almost worthless. What you are really selling is the afternoon spent choosing it. Listen to that again. That same evergreen, if you sold it as raw timber for pulp, would be worth around 50 cents. Cut your own. As a family outing on your farm, it sells for $70. The tree did not change. The experience wrapped around it did. An old forestry report said it plainly. The tree itself has very little value. It is the entrepreneurial talent that creates the value. That is the whole business in one line. A grower who understands it builds a destination and sells the day. The grower who does not sells cheap trees by the truck and wonders where the money went. Turn the page to what leaves the account, and almost all of it lands before a single tree is sold. Then the seedlings, replanted every year as you harvest. Then the years of care, while the trees earn nothing. Mowing between the rows all summer, spraying for pests and weeds, and shearing every tree by hand, season after season. One university study put the full cost of growing a tree at around $18,000 an acre, spread over a 9-year cycle, which pencils out to a break-even of roughly $20 per tree before you have made a cent. Then labor, which is the single biggest cost, close to half the total, because shearing and harvest are skilled seasonal work. Then insurance, and it is not small, because cut your own means the public roaming your land with saws. Then the retail operation, the parking, the staff, and the marketing to fill those few December weekends. Notice the shape: nearly 10 years of steady spending, one short burst of income at the end, and a crop that is worthless if you stop tending it halfway. A Christmas tree farm is not a business you run. It is a business you feed for a decade before it ever feeds you. Here is the trap, and it is the cruelest kind of timing problem in farming. You have to guess what Christmas trees will sell for 10 years before you can sell one, and you will almost always guess wrong. Think about what that does. Prices are high this year, so you plant heavily, and so does every other grower who sees the same high price. 10 years later, all of you harvest at once, the market floods, and prices collapse. Then everyone stops planting. 10 years after that, the trees are scarce, prices spike, and the cycle starts over. You are always planting for the market you can see today, and selling into a market you cannot, and you cannot adjust on the way. A field of 8-year-old firs is 8 years from a decision you already made. You cannot speed it up when prices jump, and you cannot pause it when they crash. That long wait, the thing that makes the crop special, is the same thing that makes it a trap. And this is not a theory. It has happened, twice. To understand why families drive out to cut their own tree, go back to 1901. And to the man who first saw a crop where everyone else saw a forest. His name was W.V. McGalliard, a farmer in Mercer County, New Jersey, near Trenton. In an age when nearly everyone got their Christmas tree by cutting one for free out of the wild woods, he noticed something. City people wanted trees, and the supply was random and messy. So he did something strange. He planted 25,000 Norway spruce seedlings in neat rows and waited, growing Christmas trees on purpose, as a crop. About 7 years later, in 1908, the trees were ready, and customers came out to the farm to pick their tree, watch it cut, and carry it home for $1 each. That was the birth of the whole industry, and of the cut-your-own visit that still drives the profit today, and it was decades ahead of its time. As late as the 1940s, 90% of American Christmas trees were still being cut from wild forests. McGalliard did not just plant the first tree farm. He invented the idea that the tree, and the trip to get it, could be sold together. Now watch the trap spring, because the industry has lived it more than once. This is a genuine case study in planting for the wrong decade. Back in the 1990s, prices were good, so growers planted hard. 10 years later, in the early 2000s, all those trees came ready at once. That market drowned in trees, prices fell to the floor, and farm after farm went under, unable to sell a crop they had waited a decade to grow. Then came the whiplash. The growers who survived, battered and cautious, planted far fewer trees, and the 2008 recession pushed even more of them out of business entirely. That gap sat quietly in the fields for years. Then the trees that were never planted failed to show up. By the late 2010s, there was a genuine Christmas tree shortage, and prices shot up. Across those years, the average tree jumped 123% to $78 in 2018 from $35 in 2013. The trees nobody planted in 2009 became the shortage of 2018. That is the 10-year lag, written across 2 decades of boom and bust. So who makes it through the cycle? 4 habits separate them. 1. They sell the experience, not the tree. The survivors go cut your own, build the hayrides and the wreaths and the photos, and earn far more per tree than any wholesale grower. They took McGalliard's lesson to heart. 2. They stagger and never stop planting. They replant every row as they cut it, so a slice is always ready, and they keep planting straight through the down years, so they have trees to sell when the shortage comes and the prices are high. 3. They spread the season. Wreaths, greenery, events, and agritourism. so the whole year does not ride on 4 weekends and one stretch of good weather. 4. They fund the long wait. They go in knowing there is nearly a decade of cost before real money, and they do not bet the farm on where prices sit the year they plant. Underneath all 4 is one truth the failures forget. You are not really in the tree business. You are running a retail destination with a 10-year supply chain, and the trees are the inventory. So does owning a Christmas tree farm work? Let's run both sides. The good case. Cheap land nobody wanted, planted with dollar seedlings, becomes a field worth $15,000 to $50,000 an acre once it is mature and staggered. You run a cut-your-own farm that families treat as a holiday tradition. You sell the visit and the wreaths on top of the trees, and you own appreciating land underneath it all. Managed like a destination, it is a good business and a joyful one. The hard case. You wait 8 to 10 years for a single dollar. You shear every tree by hand, every year, forever. Your entire income arrives in about 4 weeks, and a warm, dry December or an ice storm on the wrong weekend can dent the only paycheck you get. Why? And you are locked into a 10-year guessing game where planting for today's price is how you end up harvesting into tomorrow's glut. So here is the honest verdict. A Christmas tree farm is the least like a plant-it-and-wait crop and the most like a retail business fed by a decade-long pipeline. Get the location, the cut-your-own experience, and the staggered planting right, and cheap land throws off a rich seasonal income for decades. Get the timing wrong, and you spend 10 years growing a crop into a market that no longer wants it. You were never really selling a tree. A tree is worth a few cents as timber. The afternoon a family spends choosing it is worth far more. You are not in the tree business. You are in the business of 1 month in December, sold 10 years after you bet on it.